No, just a couple of quick things. A reminder, the game this week is a 3:39 official kickoff time on CBS. The SEC Nation will be on site at the Myers Quad this weekend from 10 to noon on Saturday. Dog walks at 1:15, and the gates will open at 1:30.
We're excited for another great opportunity to play a really good team in Tennessee. You know, it's we've always said around here, humility is a week away. When you talk about the SEC, you never get a chance to rest. All these teams we play are really good teams. They're well-coached teams. I got a lot of respect for Tennessee. As you know, I played them over all the years that they were our common opponent when I was over in Tuscaloosa, and I think Coach Jones's staff and their team plays really hard and really physical. You know, they were probably the most physical team we played last year. As far as just coming right off the ball and hitting you in the mouth, and special teams, they do a really good job. So we've got a great challenge in front of us. This team is a good football team, and we've got to show improvement at pretty much every position, especially from the last game, and we got to get after it this week. Make sure our guys know what they're in store for, because it will be a physical, tough game, which Tennessee just played in as well, and our guys got to be up for the challenge. They got a lot of good players back. We'll open it up.
Kirby, do you have a better feel on Nick Chubb's availability now that it's been a couple days after the injury?
Yeah, he's going to continue to rehab really hard. We're obviously hopeful he'll be able to do something, but we won't know more until later in the week. But it is an ankle injury.
Kirby, building on what you just said, the opening comments, Tennessee, when you first got to Alabama, they went through 3 coaches in 3 years and had a couple of recruiting classes implode. Where have they come the furthest that you've seen, and as someone who's studied them every year?
Yeah, the offensive and defensive lines, it's easy to say. You know, I think they've always been able to get wideouts and get skill players, but the offensive and defensive lines have he's built a program around that. They've got a core group of offensive linemen that have, I mean, I don't know how many starts those guys have, but I swear they got like 13 returning starters on offense, because they got guys at multiple positions who've all started depending on what personnel grouping they're in. And I remember 2 years ago going and playing this team in Knoxville, and they were really physical then. And they were really physical last year, and they're that way this year. So he's built it around the offensive and defensive lines, which I think is the best way to build a program. You know, their defensive line is a lot bigger than it's ever been. They got some good players in there.
Kirby, what are some things that you can do to scheme around line play when you're getting out physicaled in the line? Are there things that you can do to scheme around when you have a deficiency there?
I think it's hard to scheme around fundamentals of football, and I think blocking and tackling are the number one things that you have to be able to do in football. And right now, you know, we're not a real good tackling defense. We had 15-something missed tackles in the last game. And then to your point, the offensive line, we got to be able to block really well, and that's important. That's a key cog in order to be able to run the ball. And, you know, we actually – improved in that area against Ole Miss. It was all the other areas that imploded on us. So to try to cover that up, you don't cover that up. You confront it. You go get better at it. You practice it. You go against really good people. You play physical. You practice physical. You live physical. That's kind of the way you improve that with the guys you got.
Coach, your guys have really been buying into the 24-hour rule. Is it more important this week that they forget Ole Miss than the first few weeks leading into such a big game like Tennessee?
Yeah, I wouldn't say forget. I mean, today is a learning day for us. Some of our guys got to watch the tape yesterday on their own, but, you know, and a lot of them feel bad about it. And we do have the 24-hour rule. And today is going to be about Tennessee and getting better, and we'll have some corrections for things that we might see again. But I don't think you ever forget it. You learn from it, and you advance, and you move on, and you can't let that set you down for too long. So you got to move on, because, like I said, humility is a week away. When you play a team like Tennessee, they better get over it quick, because they got to go out and compete and get ready for a physical, tough game.
Coach, with or without Nick this week, did Elijah play himself into more opportunities down the road?
Yeah, you know, he did a nice job. I thought Brian Herring did a nice job. I thought Sony did a nice job. But I think getting Elijah some experience in game was valuable. And really, we had been wanting to do that. It wasn't that we were holding back. There's just only so many guys that you can get carries to. And with Nick's injury, we didn't know at the time whether or not he's going to be able to play this week. We still really don't. So we're sitting there going, we better get Elijah ready. And he did a nice job coming in, catching the ball out of that backfield, running the ball. And he runs really hard and runs with good toughness. I've challenged those freshman guys. They've got to help us more on special teams. They're size, speed guys. They're both 200-plus pounds. They run fast. And we don't have enough guys in special teams that can do that. And they can, but they just never done it before. So we're needing their help, and we expect Elijah to play a role, certainly on offense.
I want to ask about Tyler Catalina, just the adjustments he's had to make, especially when you're going up against the Charles Harris's, Marquise Haynes, Derek Barnett's of the world. What kind of year has Tyler had so far for you?
Well, he's working to get used to playing against these kind of players. You know, he gets it in practice and during camp. We try to simulate that. They do a lot of things in practice to go against, whether it's a speed rusher, a power rusher. We've worked him at right tackle, left tackle. He's worked at guard. So he goes against all type players so that when he gets in the game, he's got some experience doing it. Now, we all know the in-game experience is invaluable. You can't get enough of that. And he's had some trial by fire. I mean, he's got to go out there and compete and do it against good players. And I think, the guys, Haynes, Charles Harris, those guys he's gone against will prepare him to go against the guys he's going to go in the future. But it's every week. I mean, it's part of the reason he came to this league is that there's a really good pass rusher every week we play against.
Lorenzo Carter's obviously had some trouble closing the other game. He doesn't have a sack yet. Where is he right now? What are you telling him? How are you handling him going forward?
Yeah, Lorenzo's worked hard. We're going to continue to work with Lorenzo. He's got to continue to practice more physical and practice better. The kid wanted to make those plays. He did not want to make them. So it's a situation where he came free on one, and then one he did a nice job playing a run play, and he came out of it, and he just missed the quarterback on it. So we're going to work hard at everybody tackling better, especially in space, and finishing on quarterbacks, because when you play a quarterback that is athletic, a lot of times you don't temper your enthusiasm when you arrive in the pocket. And the kid last week was good at making people miss. Same as this week. You get a free shot at a guy, you got to go under control and be able to make the play. So, I think Lorenzo's going to come out. He's going to accept the challenges we've issued to him, and he's going to get better. He's got no choice but to get better. He's got to work on it and work on his trade, just like a lot of guys do at a lot of positions in our program.
Kirby, was the morale of the team coming home, and how are your team leaders kind of stepping up to the challenge of keeping that morale up?
Yeah, morale wasn't up coming home. It shouldn't be. I mean, we just took a tough defeat, where a team came out and whipped us and beat us up, and wasn't good, but it's improved. We got to see some of the guys yesterday. They came over and stopped by, and that's a big part of today. That's part of my job, is making sure they understand that loss has been put behind us. We got a great challenge in front of us, playing another really good football team that's good in a lot of areas. So the focus will be on that and not on the perceived morale of when we came back from the game,
Coach Jonathan Ledbetter, will he be available to play this week?
No, he will not be available this week.
Coach, what challenges does Derek Barnett present, and how do you game plan for that?
Well, first of all, he's a phenomenal athlete, and he's big. So when you got a big athletic guy, he can play a lot of positions. They can move him around. He's a dominant rusher, plays the run well. Really not a lot that you can say the guy does poorly. Okay, so when you have a guy like that, you got to know where he is at all times. Okay, center's got to know, quarterback's got to know, tackle's got to know. It's really not easy to game plan because they can move him around. So it's more of a I'm up to the challenge. When this guy's here, you got to know where his presence is at all times, because Coach Shoup and them do a good job of using him. He's a talented rusher.
Coach, looking down at Tennessee's receivers, pretty easy to see 6'3", 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". Can you just talk about the matchup? Obviously, your secondary is what it is in size and the Josh Dobbs factor as well.
Yeah, they've got big wideouts. They've recruited to that size and that speed. And, again, these guys have been there for a while. I've seen them for a long time. The guy that's really impressive is Juwan Jennings. He is tough. He is physical. He enjoys blocking. And I think that's a credit to the job they do with them. Josh Smith's been there for a long time, made a lot of plays. Josh Malone's a great player. They've got Preston Williams. I mean, they've got big receivers, and it's another challenge for us to go up and make some plays and get some guys in the game that can compete and fight to make the plays down the field, because ultimately you're going to be in those opportunities. You're going to be in situations where you've got to win some one-on-one battles out there, and we got to do a better job of doing that.
Is there anything you learned or took away from playing Chad Kelly that you think can be applied in the preparation for a guy like Josh Dobbs?
Certainly. I mean, I think the biggest thing is finishing on the quarterback when you get a chance, because you're not going to get a whole bunch of chances on these guys. When you get your opportunities, you got to make them count. You can't miss them. You got to finish on the quarterback. You try to limit the opportunities they get by getting off the field on third down. And I think that's a big part of our game plan last week, but also this week, is when you get somebody in second long, you got to force them into third and long and then get off the field. And a big part of that's third down conversion. So limiting his opportunities is important. Josh Dobbs is a phenomenal player who plays the game with heart and energy, and he plays with great toughness. They ask him to run the ball up the middle, he does it. They ask him to run outside, he does it. And he's become a lot better passer over the last 2 years than the first year we played against him.
Coach, how important was it to score 14 points in the second half? Obviously not going to win the game, but how much momentum can you carry over to this week against Tennessee?
Well, I don't know that it carries over. I think when you got a defeat like that, that's not. The big part was that they came out and fought and they battled and they competed, and it was important to them to score. It was important to them to get those backs in there, and those backs ran hard. I think that part was really what I wanted to see out of them, was the no quit, fight your tail off, and keep battling. And but as far as momentum, I wouldn't say it created any momentum.
Coach, coming off a tough defeat like that, is there a silver lining to taking a butt whooping like that?
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say that the silver lining is the fact that you get another opportunity to play a good team this week. And that's the opportunity that we have looking forward is what we're fired up about. That's the best thing we can do is look forward and continue to develop our players to get better. My end goal is for each guy to play his best game this game. And that's what we want. That's all we can focus on right now is what do I have to do to play better? The areas we're deficient in, how do we improve them? And that's what we're focused on this week.
Kirby, as a coaching staff, what can you guys do about the number of big plays given up on defense beyond just a guy?
Tackle better. The offenses we play, they get explosive plays on everybody. So it's more about limiting those, like you mentioned, of how do I give up less? Well, if we tackle better and you take 9 of those 15 missed tackles away, then you take away about 7 big plays. And I think that's the most important thing. Great defenses are built around tackling and getting the other team to turn the ball over. And we didn't tackle well. So they're going to hit some down the field plays. They're going to be one-on-one. They're going to hit some. But you got to tackle them when the ball breaks out of the stack. And you got to do a great job of limiting the opportunities to hit those big plays. And we didn't do that Saturday. So we got to do a better job of that.
What are you looking for the role of your athletic outside linebackers, Davin Bellamy and Lorenzo Carter, to be against Josh Dobbs in the run-pass option this week?
Well, the role for those guys is to play really physical. And sometimes both those guys can't be on the field. Tennessee's got a big offensive front. They run the ball well. So the role is for them to do their job. Their job might be to strike the tight end. It might be to strike the tackle. Both those guys are 240, 245 pounds, and they've got to play against bigger people. They got to be able to hold up when they play against bigger people, especially in the run game, because they don't get any smaller in the SEC the rest of the way. So the whole outside backer group has got to be able to match up and play against tight ends and tackles on a consistent basis in a big league.
Little off topic, wanted to ask about Les Miles. You were at LSU for 1 year, and obviously you had some pretty classic matchups with them when you were in Alabama.
Yeah, I'll be dead honest with you. I don't have a whole lot to talk about. I know Les. Les is a great man, good person. I respect Les and the job he's done in this profession. I think he's a very great kind of ambassador for our league. So I hate what's happened. But I'll say this: Les has been nothing but good to me, and he's a great person. So, but I got to focus on Tennessee, obviously.
Coach, I want to ask you about DeAndre Walker. He didn't play a whole lot game one, but he's played a lot for you since then and seems to be kind of flying around making a few plays. What are you guys seeing out of him? Do you like kind of what you're seeing as far as him making those plays?
Yeah, I do, and he's a guy that we talked a lot about yesterday, and it's interesting you brought it up. He's playing good in that group. He's playing really hard. He doesn't play as many snaps as those other guys, so it's a situation of where is he maxed out snap-wise. Right now he's getting 15 to 20, whereas the first game he didn't get that many. He's gone up each week in snaps because he's played better, and we'll continue to develop him because he really plays hard. He runs fast. He's not the biggest guy, but he does play hard and play physical, and that's what we're looking for. That's the challenge for our team this week. We're going to put the best guys out there that will go out and compete and play physical.
Kirby, what can the fans do this week to offer their support? Getting that home field advantage is always important. I think even more so coming off of last week.
Absolutely. We're going to need the fans. We're going to need them to help us defensively when Tennessee's out there to make it really hard on them. They really haven't played on the road. They've played a neutral site game that was in a large stadium, but they really haven't played truly on the road, and I think that's got to have an effect. We need a packed house to affect their offense and their ability to communicate, and then we need the ability for our guys to communicate, offensively. And I think the enthusiasm and the juice they bring helps our team. They feed off that. They feed off the energy, and we got to go out and do our part by playing good and keeping the crowd into it. But that can play a big part in this game, which I think it will help us tremendously.
I think you gave the stat of 15 missed tackles. What did you have for drops by the receivers? And I know some people view a play as a drop, others may not, in terms of how difficult it was. And how much of a concern is the pass catching for you guys?
Well, it's something we got to do a better job of. We challenge those guys every day. We try to put them in tough situations. We go live. Sometimes we go thud. Sometimes we're trying to make those receivers make the tough catches, which we struggle with. We dropped some balls this year, but I think we had 5 or 6 in this game, and that we counted as drops, and that's frustrating because 2 of those could have been game changers, could have been momentum changers, and you just don't. That's the most frustrating thing about that game in the past was the opportunities missed that could have changed the game. Most games you can say that in, so it's no different than this one, but we'll continue to challenge them. That receiver group is a work in progress because we want them to be physical. We want them to play hard. We want them to go catch the balls, and we're working hard at it with them. I'm on those guys every day to challenge each other and compete in that room. It's one of the major rooms we got to improve in.
Kirby, I know you're thinking about this week's game, but you played in this rivalry. What do you remember? Obviously, when you were here, Tennessee had some unbelievable offenses.
Yeah, they were very dominant. Peyton was here and T. Martin, both really good quarterbacks, really good offenses, very power-based, good run offenses. So, this is a great rivalry. It's what college football is all about. It's a pretty balanced rivalry. It's gone kind of in cycles, back and forth. Traditionally, but got a lot of respect for their program, and to be honest with you, it's what the SEC is about, these kind of rivalry games.
Coach, I wanted to ask you specifically about Isaiah McKenzie. Obviously his production was way down this past game. Did you feel like it was a schematic thing? Is he drawing more attention, what you'd expect, or just tougher day for Isaiah?
Yeah, they did a good job game planning on Isaiah, especially from a receiver standpoint, which we expected. We had some plays in to complement him that some of them we weren't able to hit. Some of them we hit and dropped and just didn't get. But, he'll continue to see more defenses like that. But, again, he's a competitor. He'll go compete. And, a lot of times it's not necessarily the scheme of the play or tricking them with Isaiah. It's blocking the right guy, getting Isaiah in one-on-one matchups. If he can get one-on-one in space, we like our chances. It's when they get 2-on-1 or we don't block one of the two that we get in trouble. So we'll continue to use Isaiah, and he'll continue to compete and do it. We didn't do a good job of getting him the ball in this game, but a lot of that had to do with what they did.
Coach, you touched on Barnett a little bit. What makes him so tough off the edge, and how much does Vereen on the other side help him out?
Yeah, the fact they've got 2 helps tremendously because you can't focus on one. You can't slide to one all the time. And he's a dominant pass rusher. He's what this league has been known for so long. He's just another one of those guys that when you look out there, you say, I got to have one of those. The teams that got those, even the guy at Florida, Brantley, a lot of teams got that dominant guy that's changes the game for the offense. It's hard to block. Well, they got him and Vereen, who are really good players. And when you got two that caliber, it's tough to game plan for. But again, you got to do a good job blocking and tackling in order to be good at the fundamentals. And that's what Saturday's going to come down to, is who blocks and tackles the best and makes the plays at critical times. Thank you, guys.